and welcome to the first lesson, Introduction to Java, which I will be running over a course of a number of weeks, taking you from a beginner level to I guess an intermediate level really. We'll go through a series of classes to ensure that you get upskilled on Java and you know what you're doing. Okay, so in this lesson we're going to first look at the history, and then I'll introduce you to some of the software that we're going to be using. The history of Java. So Java was conceived by these gentlemen, so James Gosling, Patrick Norton, Chris Worth, Ed Frank and Mike Sheridan at Sun Microsystems in 1991. It was originally called Oak, and it wasn't intended for the internet. The internet was around during the early 90s, but didn't have the same level of interest that it certainly does now. It's a platform independent language designed to create software to be embedded in various consumer electronic devices. So it was a different time back in the 90s in terms of what computers were and how we use them. So Gosling and the others worked on a portable cross-platform language that could produce code that would run on a variety of CPUs under differing environments. So that was the initial approach to Java, or Oak rather. The World Wide Web is a different environment now to what it was 30 years ago. The language was propelled to the forefront of computer language design because the Web 2 demanded it. So Oak really had to expand and scale to what consumers really wanted. The internet consists of a diverse distributed universe populated with many types of computers, operating systems and CPUs. The internet is made up of loads of different systems. So it's really important that a piece of software that's being introduced to the internet should be able to work across any platform. So with that in mind, in 1993 it became obvious that Oak wasn't going to do what they wanted it to do. And in fact, the natural evolution of the software kind of moved them more towards creating something that would be more used, or rather better used, on the internet. So Oak was renamed Java in 1995, and the little logo on the right there is the Java logo that we know about now. So Java inherits its syntax from C, and its object model is adapted from C++. Java was not designed to replace C++. It is designed to solve a different set of problems. A few years after the creation of Java, Microsoft developed the C# language. Many of the C# features directly parallel to Java. The magic of Java is in what's called bytecode. So basically, when you compile a Java application, it is not executable. Instead, it is what we call bytecode. You need to have Java installed on the system in order to run the bytecode. There's this element which is called the Java virtual machine that allows the Java program that you've created, the bytecode, to function on your machine. But that means that it won't matter what type of machine you're using. You could be using a Windows machine, you could be using Mac OS, or you could be using a Linux machine. None of those really matter. As long as Java is installed, you will be able to run that piece of bytecode. Although the details of the JVM, or the Java virtual machine, will differ from platform to platform, all understand the same. So they'll all be able to run that Java bytecode. This is a diagram that really shows you how it works. So we've got the source code at the top. So that's what you would ordinarily type into an IDE. That then is compiled using a Java development kit, or a JDK. And what that outputs is the Java bytecode. The Java bytecode can then run in the Java virtual machine running within that operating system, and it should be able to run the application that you've designed. Computers do not directly understand the programming language we are using. We need a compiler between the source code and the computer. So to run the compiled program, you can use a command line. So you can actually just type in Java and hello, where hello is the name of the file that you're using. When using an IDE, or what's also known as an integrated development environment, it will take care of all of that. And that's what we're going to be using. We're going to be using an IDE. When we run the program, the development environment will compile and execute the program for you. So you haven't got to do all that fiddly stuff. Now, the software that we're actually going to be using is called IntelliJ Idea, and it's produced by a company called JetBrains. This is the JetBrains website. You can find it at jetbrains.com. I will put a link below. And they manage a number of tools. Now, the area that you'll probably be interested in is going straight to here and downloading the IntelliJ Idea. If you do this, you will get the community edition version of the software, which is a scaled down version to the Ultimate Edition. So if you are a student or a lecturer and you are using a .ac.uk email address, you can go straight over to the Learning Tools, and if you go to For Students and Teachers, which is what I'm going to do now, that'll introduce you to this screen here. All you need to do is scroll down and click on this button here. That'll take you to an application form which you can fill in and send to JetBrains. Generally, you get a quick response. You'll have access to their software. And when I say you have access to their software, whereas before I said that you would have access to IntelliJ, you'll actually get access to IntelliJ Idea Ultimate, as well as all the other tools that comes within their toolkit. And again, if you want to make it easier for yourself, I would recommend downloading the Toolbox app and installing directly from there. So some of the things that you must understand before you get started with programming in Java is, first of all, you need to install Java onto your computer. Now, there's certainly one of the best places to do this is at java.com. And this is the website. And if you click on this Java link or this button here, you can download it. Now that you've got Java installed, we're now going to install IntelliJ Idea. Now you can go straight to the developer tools and click on this link here, but I would recommend using the Toolbox app. I'm going to click on the start button here and I'm going to type in Toolbox, and there it is. So I'm just going to run it. Here we go. Okay, and this shows you all the tools or all the JetBrains applications that you can install. The top one being IntelliJ Idea Ultimate. I would recommend installing that over the Community Edition, especially if you're licensed to do so. If you're not licensed to do so, you might have some problems later on with some of the lessons that I'm running. So I'm going to install the Ultimate version, so I'm just going to click Install, and I'm just going to let that run. So whilst that's running, I'm just going to speed things up a little bit. Okay, so now that it's installed and it just says to me installed, I can now run it. Just for your interest, there's all these other applications that you can install as well, and PyCharm is definitely for those Python users, and I will be running a Python set of lessons in the next few weeks to parallel with the stuff that I'm doing with Java. Okay, so once you've installed the software, I'm going to go straight to the start button here, and I'm going to type in Idea up here and select IntelliJ Idea. And now at this point, it's asking you to activate the software. So I'm going to do that in a moment, but I'll do that off screen. Okay, so because I don't want to share my activation code with you guys. All right, so I'll just pause this a moment and then I'll come back with the application running. Okay, so now that I've activated the software, I can go straight back onto this screen here. Now, I'm just going to introduce you to what this is all about. So the two buttons that we really need to focus on is New Project and Open. So when you start a new application, you just hit the New Project, and that will allow you to start your application. Okay, so there are some tools down the side here. I haven't really done much with the remote development, so I'm not going to get into that at the moment. We can customize, so I'm going to increase my font size so that you guys can read it clearer. Okay, so I'm setting it to 16 font size, which I think will be fine so that you guys can read my screen a lot easier. What's really nice also is if you're colorblind, you can click on this. We've also got some plugins. just a whole host of plugins. I'm not going to go through all of these at the moment. In fact, I'm not going to go through any at the moment, but we will be installing some of these plugins during the course of the lessons. Okay, now there is also a Learn IntelliJ Idea. You can hit the Start Learning, and that is specifically for learning the application rather than learning about Java. Alright, I'm going to go back up to Projects and hit New Project. And we're going to start with a good old traditional bit of software coding. This is a list of libraries that are available to us, and we can use those. We've got some frameworks as well. If you want to use a library, you can just select one of these and then you can say use library. I'm not going to do that because this first application that we're going to run is going to be very basic. One thing that I will draw your attention to is this project SDK. Now it's really important that you've got your SDK installed, because otherwise your application won't run. So at the moment I've got mine set to version 11. We can download an SDK. So if this is blank for you at the moment, click on this option here, download JDK, and you can choose which JDK you want to use. We talked about JDKs in the slides earlier. It also tells you where you can get them from and where it will install it for you. Okay, so another thing you can do is you can actually add a JDK. So if you've got a JDK in at the moment and you want to use that, then you can click on that one, and you'll see down here it's actually identified that I am currently running a JDK on the system. So I could use this as well. So if I click on that, you can see now that I'm using 1.8 Oracle OpenJDK. So it doesn't matter, you can choose whichever JDK you want to use. I'm going to go back to using version 11, so I'm happy with that. Let's have a look and see what versions are available. So I can go up to version 17. In fact, let's use version 17. So let's click on that, download. And as you can see, it's installing the latest version as well, 17.0.1. There we go. It's going to unpack it. Now I can use version 17. So I'm going to hit next. Now at this point you might have some templates. We haven't got anything at the moment, and if you wanted to create a project from a template, you can do so by clicking on that button there. I'm not going to bother with that, so I'm just going to hit next. Now I'm going to give this a name, so I'm just going to give away what we're actually going to create. So we're going to do hello world. I'm typing this in what we call camel case, and I'll talk a little bit about that later on. So you can see where it's going. So it's going to store it in an area called Idea Projects, and I'm just going to hit finish. And once you've actually gone through all of that, you'll be presented with this screen. As you can see on the left side, I've got my files. This is our workable area. We've got menus at the top. We've got some icons over here. So this is your files as they are at the moment, and where I want you to focus on is this SRC. This is your source folder. So click on that as I've done so, and then if you right click on it and go to new, we're going to create a Java class. So now I want to give it a name, so I'm going to call it hello world, like so. So I'm going to give it the same name as I've given the program and hit return. That then brings up this option now, which now sits in SRC, because you can see it there. I've just used the little arrow to the left to expand on that. So one of the things I would say with Java is, in order for anything to run, it needs a main method. It needs that main method to function. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to hit return, and I'm just going to type the word main, like so, and press return. And you'll see that we've got this public static void main open bracket string with square brackets, args, and then we've got curly braces. So these things here we call curly braces. Okay, so one of the first things that I'm going to do, because I've just noticed the font size is a bit small to show you guys. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to File and Settings, and if I go to the editor, and I think is it font? Okay, so I can set the font size here. So if I want to make the font bigger, I can do so. One of the other really nice tools is, I think, here. So I've got smooth scrolling. See if I can find it. There's a way of increasing the font size. Here we go. Change font size with control and mouse wheel. So I'm going to activate that. Okay, and I'm going to do it on all editors, so I should be able to do this in the future as well. So I'm just going to hit OK. So if I hold down the control key, I can now scroll to make the font size bigger, which is quite handy. Okay, so this public static void main method, that needs to be in place for you to be able to run your application. Also, if you notice, we've got these little triangles on the left side here. These are run tools, so if I was to hit that, this will give me the option to run, debug and so forth. At the moment I haven't got anything in my method to run, so I'm going to do that now. Now there is a layered approach to programming in Java. To get started, I want to output something on my screen. So that can be found in the system library. So I'm going to use system. And what I did was I pressed the tab key to fill in the rest, hit the dot. Okay. Now I'm going to output. So I need to find out. So that's out there. I'm going to type that in full. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to display a line. Now if you've done any Python work, we would use print. But in the case of this, what I'm going to do is I'm going to print line. So print ln. Okay. And hit return. That puts up a set of brackets for me, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to use the speech marks. Let's get rid of that in a moment. And you'll see that it puts in 2 speech marks, so it opens and closes for you. And I'm just going to type in hello world exclamation mark. Okay, now when I come over to here and I run the application, which I can do so from this button here, run hello world, what will happen is a little window will pop up and it should say hello world, and there it is. Can you see the hello world there? Okay, so if I change that now, I can change it to hello students, and if I run that, that will say hello students. Now another way of running, if you want to do it another different way, is to go up to run and run hello world from there, or you can see just over here we've got shift and F10. So if I was to hold down my shift key and press F10, it will run the application as well if you want to use a shortcut. Okay, so that's an easy approach to outputting some information. Okay, so that closes our lesson 1. So in this lesson we've covered is the history of Java. We've also talked a little bit about IDE. We've installed Java, we've installed IntelliJ Idea, and we've run a very simple program. So in our next lesson, we're going to be doing a little bit more programming, so there won't be so much about the history or anything like that now. We're actually going to start coding. If you would like to see more of these lessons, please subscribe. And if you enjoyed what you've seen today, give me a thumbs up, and I will produce another lesson very soon. Thank you.